Thank you, everybody, for joining tonight's webinar. We're really pleased to introduce the TRI dental implant system, the world's only FDA-approved implant that requires no abutment. We'll be talking a little bit about that, and we're also thrilled to have Dr. Art Mirelez join us to talk about the TRI dental implant system incorporated with his InstaRisa's workflow that's very cutting edge. And Dr. Mirelez also is a pioneer in implant dentistry and more specifically digital implant dentistry. And I've known you for many years, Dr. Mirelez, and seen many advances in your practice and certainly your workflows. And I'm sure everyone is really thrilled to hear your lecture here tonight. Before I formally introduce you and take it over from the clinical side, I'm just going to touch base on a little bit of the value proposition, what really sets us apart from every other dental implant system in the world. And my name is Chris Luter. I'm the president of the U.S. business with TRI USA. This is year 18 in the implant business for myself. We were joking a little bit, Dr. Mirelez, of how many advancements have really taken place with full arch dentistry. And I started back in 2005 and had a 10-year run with Noble Biocare. And early on, it was very rare to be angulating your distal implants for these all-in-X cases. So just to see the advancements over the last 18 years has been significant. So spending 10 years with Nobel, 6 years launching the brand and being part of the company Neodent when very few people even heard of that implant, could spell it, and saw that company advance over 6 years. The last 3 years with Sprint Ray in the 3D printing realm, and certainly seen advancements on the 3D printing side with resins and development. And speed and accuracy has been tremendous. And now the last year here at TRI, it's really been everything the last 18 years coupled in that now makes this implant possible. So fantastic part to be part of implant dentistry today and the evolution and change. So TRI is not a new implant company. It is new to the US and had a soft launch last year. And then this year, it's been a full court press to expand in the US market. We've been hiring a robust sales force, putting manufacturing and supply chain into place in the U.S. and certainly scaling at a very fast rate. So as I mentioned, we're not a new implant company. This is year 11 for TRI. We are our global headquarters is out of Switzerland. Everything we do is, we think, very digital and customized. We have a very simplistic approach to using our implant system because there is no abutments, and everything is obviously very high performance products for the patients that are treated with the Matrix. Our CEO listed right here also has a solid background in implant dentistry, launching the SL Active Surface at Straumann many years ago, starting Implant Direct in the infancy stages with Jerry Nisnik, and then selling off at the same time, and then 11 years ago starting TRI. In the last 4 years with the Matrix in 49 countries today and growing. So what makes the Matrix unique? Certainly, like I said, there's no abutments, and that is truly revolutionary to think about in terms of implant dentistry today. It's the only implant company that is FDA cleared to 3D print or mill directly to the interface. We know today abutments serve really two main purposes. Number one, to correct implant angulation obviously for prosthetic outcomes. And number two, for mechanical loading, right? You need that titanium custom abutment, or you need that MUA in place to be able to withstand mechanical forces for chewing capacity. And this implant is specifically engineered to have mechanical strength coupled with this bolt screw you see here in the top corner. I know Dr. Mirelez will certainly comment on that in his presentation, but it's important to know this screw is double the thickness of the current implant screw you worked with today at 1.4 millimeters to 2.8 millimeters thick. That carries that mechanical load, has more surface area because there is no tie base or MUA, and can be obviously milled right or printed right to the interface. We certainly know that obviously less parts and is obviously less confusion, but obviously eliminating those parts is a significant cost advantage to us as clinicians and ultimately to the patients. And that is significant when you're avoiding multi-units, you're avoiding tie bases that sometimes debond. You're avoiding those MUAs, or sometimes you're selecting wrong heights or wrong angulations. And that all adds up in cost. And we know that implant dentistry and patient care isn't getting less expensive, it's getting more expensive. So if you can reduce those costs, it can be very significant to certainly treat more patients. We also know that that bolt screw that's 2.8 millimeters thick goes very deep in the connection that carries a lot of that mechanical load and is actually stronger than abutment level restorations, and also has advantages such as less bone reduction for all next cases, and also it offers zero screw loosening that we can actually claim in our studies. So all in all, we believe we're treating more patients faster, more predictable, and having better prosthetic outcomes due to eliminating abutments. Here's just a quick video on a single tooth that you can see. This is a 20-degree beveled conical connection type implant that is indexed here and timed on a single unit restoration that is reverse engineered the interface and polished zirconia right type titanium with this bolt screw locks in seamlessly and torqued to 35 Newton centimeters, obviously for optimal aesthetics. Since we are a digital implant company, we offer these 8 integrated apps that you can work seamlessly with our implant system. I'll talk a little bit about this Scan in Smile in 1 hour. So obviously we are a design company as well for single tooth, and obviously partnered with Dr. Mirelez here in the InstaRisa's workflow for full arch that he'll be talking about. We have a very unique value proposition I'll show on the next slide here with our digital healing collar library that offers customized healing abutments essentially at no charge. We'll talk about a value proposition of our scan bridge that can be done with or without photogrammetry. We have guided surgical protocols. We have a tooth in a box for unfinished hybrids and single units. That's an amazing value proposition, and certainly lab design and partners with our lab designs and lab milling. So as I mentioned here on the digital healing collar, it always was a little interesting to me, just spending 18 years in implant dentistry, how almost every healing abutment we see out there for single tooth molars, they're titanium. When patients open their mouth considerably when they speak, you do see titanium metal healing abutments when patients are talking. And I always thought that's still strange. Why should these not be white like natural teeth? And I know there are some companies offer preppable peak healing abutments, but these healing abutments here are intended to be anatomical the way they should be for natural teeth. By tooth numbers, you have a lot of different common sizes that have a nice emergence profile. We give you an STL file and you 3D print these and have these ready to go for almost next to no cost. And certainly, like I mentioned, they're white like they should be. So I think this is a great product to have, certainly for your molar restorations. I also talked about the Scan in Smile in 1 hour. We know that in the aesthetic zone, there's certainly a lot of ways to temporize for your patients. Placing a dental implant on a tooth number 7, you could certainly have a cover screw, and you could use a flipper, you could use an Essex template, or you could obviously, in today's most implant systems, you would use a temporary abutment, you'd flow acrylic to it, and then you would screw retain, obviously out of occlusion, a tooth so that patient leaves. You can do all 3 of those workflows today with the Matrix. However, take it a fourth level, a step past that, and place an implant as you would today, put a scan body in place, either short or long, scan the patient, and within 20 minutes, with TRI, get a STL file print format ready, designed perfectly to fit the patient, 3D print that tooth, all under 1 hour, the patient leaves with a customized tooth, and obviously a superior solution for a design cost of $18, for a crown cost roughly with resin cost $5 to $10, and the patient can leave with a perfect tooth in place, which I think is a fantastic value proposition. And I know no implant company can do that, obviously, because there's no abutments here in this workflow. So again, it allows you to avoid those flippers, avoid the excess retainers, incredible for soft tissue development, and certainly billing for immediate temporary is obviously an advantage for you as dentists as well. So again, you can do all three workflows your current implant company today, but take it a step further with the TRI matrix. I'm gonna mute this, probably hearing music, but this is getting into full arch now. This is one of our I think incredible value propositions we're all here to talk and learn about today is the full arch workflow with the matrix. Showing you a full arch procedure, direct, obviously milled right to the interface. Many of you probably asked the question, well, what happens if your implants are angled? How is that screw axis hole going to come out the facial? And this is where our angulated screw channel up to 30 degrees comes in. That gives you that optimal aesthetics. And I'm sure Dr. Mirelez, you'll be touching more on this in a second. So again, we have some significant advantages here with the matrix and full arch. Obviously, you can angle your distal implants up to 50 degrees. Instead of putting MUAs on top, you then would insert your scan bodies directly to the interface of the implant, either short or long. And then from that standpoint on, you would use this scan bridge here that we're showing here in the blue. They come in essentially extra small, small, medium, large, depending on your AP spread. They click in seamlessly to the chamber of the scan body that then allows you to get a passive fit and with a single scan on your intraoral scanner that then allows you to get the design stage to 3D print your prosthetics. Now, however, if you didn't want to use a scan bridge, and maybe some of you are adamant in photogrammetry, we have those capabilities as well. And you can then insert your photogrammetry scan bodies directly to the interface and then start your same workflow as you would today. Dr. Mirelez, you'll be talking a little bit about your InstaRisa's workflow, taking this a third step, which is fantastic, showing that workflow. And there's lots of ways to get to home base. The most important is securing teeth day of surgery, and you have many options here to do that with the matrix, and that's what it's all about. The best part of it is you're avoiding these Rosen screws, these Powerball screws, these desk screws. They tend to, at time to time, come loose. Now with our bolt screw, that 2.8 millimeter screw that is used, that goes through the nanoceramic resin, it's secured tight, and they're not going to come loose, and you're avoiding those components as well, which is fantastic. No MUAs, no Rosen screws. You're angulating your distal implants, and you're printing right to the interface. Also, for some of these FP1 cases, there's less bone reduction, and that's also a significant advantage for patients because you don't need to leave vertical height, obviously, for your MUAs. This just shows just a quick video. This is roughly 90 seconds. This shows the traditional scan of an intraoral scanner of a Trios 5, and just showing a scan here with the scan bridge. This shows incredible accuracy to then obviously get to the design stage. We're almost done here.
It says that it's way faster. Yeah. Wow, Ivan, look at this. What is it? How nice is it? Huh?
All right. So many of you may also ask, can you guys hear the music right now?
No.
No, okay. So I'll just kind of summarize here, but this is a strength test. So many of you may question, since there is no abutment, we've already touched on it briefly, that the matrix is intended to have and mill or print right to the interface with, and this just shows a strength test of an implant on an analog with a crown, torqued to 35 Newton centimeters, and angling that implant on the analog up to on 30 degrees, and having a strength test on a weight study here. It shows on 30 degrees with weight, would the crown break over time, right? Or how long is the forces here on a 30 degrees are going to take? And this just shows, again, the weight study of roughly 2 times the strength of any human can possibly chew down on, and show the forces here of this matrix crown. We also have a lot of studies of chewing cycles as well. That's really important to know. And we have lots of documents here on the strength of obviously a milled restoration from full arches to single units. And it's really amazing here that the forces here can be withstood on double the strength of any human can bite down. And it shows here that when they remove, that it actually dented the titanium here, and the crown completely intact. So before I pass it over here, many of you probably go, well, what does it take to get started with the matrix system? It is the end of our quarter end here in a couple of days, in the halfway point of the year right now. We do have an implant package out for 25 implants. Comes your scan bodies, comes with the kit, comes with the instruments you need. It actually includes a final all-on-X arch complimentary as well. That is incredible value. And it also includes, thank you to Dr. Mirelez and his InstaRisa team, an InstaRisa design that's free of charge, as well as a fiduciary marker screw that can be used for your full arch cases. All that's included at no charge, and it's good till Friday. That free arch, the design, and the fiduciary marker at no additional cost to you. We have a couple other items here, such as a flat fee of $2,999 an arch, all in. Which is incredible value. We have a great partnership with SprintRay, where you buy 100 implants, you get an entire ecosystem comp to you. It includes also the NanoCure, the new top of the line NanoCure, includes the Arch kit that does your prints in 20 minutes. Certainly a bottle of Onyx Tough with that as well. I like to say it's one of the most attractive offers we have here at TRI. My information is right here. I try to make this nice and sweet because you probably don't want to hear a lot about me. Well, you're here to see Dr. Mirelez. But my email is listed right here. I have a sales team here. Any potential information you're looking for, we have clinical doctors on staff that can certainly take care of you. My cell phone is listed right here, 480-665-6326. If you're on Instagram, feel free to add me on. Dr. Mirelez's information is right here as well. And feel free to have him ask any questions as well. And you'll see some technical cases right now on the Matrix and InstaRisa workflow. But before you get started, Dr. Mirelez, I'd like to introduce you. You're certainly a local boy to California. You're born and raised in the Fresno area, and you're at home right now. This is where you thrive. You attended Fresno State. You graduated with honors. There's no surprise there. You attended dental school at UCSF, San Francisco. You continued your advanced surgical implant training at Fresno Medical Center, and continued your education to be an incredible surgeon you are today. You're a fellow at both the ICOI and AGD. You certainly have an incredible passion to digitizing implant dentistry, and always evolving your practice, your private practice, your workflows you do today. You're obviously the co-founder and CEO of the InstaRisa Dental Technologies, where I'm sure everyone will like to learn more of. You operate obviously a thriving practice in Clovis, California, that focuses primarily on full arch dentistry and implant dentistry. I consider you a friend. I've known you for over a decade, and appreciate your time and attention to TRI and changing lives together.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that, my man. So with that, I think what I'll do is I'll share my screen here. All right. And then if we can just confirm that this is showing. Is it full screen or part screen?
Just a part screen right now.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah, and I can see it was right there.
we're good.
It was, you just had it, then it went back.
I think there's a delay. So let me just not mess with it. Because on my screen, I can see my PowerPoint, but it's not quick.
Go to slideshow and then hit start.
Okay. Is that working?
You're there? Yep.
All right, good. And we practiced too, didn't we, Chris? So, well, hey, listen, Chris, I want to thank you. I want to thank Tobias and the entire TRI team to make this happen. Congratulations on your success. And I know that Tobias is going to be very happy with you making your promise come true, that the world would know about TRI within a year. And I see that happening already. So congrats, my friend. And this is exciting. You know, when you approached me, Chris, about TRI, I had 101 questions, as you know. And you and your team answered all of them, which was nice, and it was backed up with some data. And so I said, hey, you know what? Let me give this a shot. And here we are. You know, several months later, and I got about at least 10 arches or more of these cases under my belt, and they've all gone very smoothly and successfully. So I'm excited to share how we've been able to integrate the TRI system with InstaRisa. So let me jump into it. So the whole idea with this talk today is to share with you how we can come up with some predictable ways of doing full arch. And I think predictability is the key. If you guys want to reach me, you can reach me on Facebook or Instagram. And then Chris provided my contact information, but I love talking dentistry, so feel free to give me a call or reach out. But one of the things that I come to realize is with digital dentistry, the reason that I started doing it is because I hated analog dentistry when it came to full arch. And I didn't like it. I actually stopped doing full arch dentistry for about 3 years because I felt that it was very inefficient. It wasn't predictable. It wasn't cost effective, and I wasn't really profitable. And I had patients that weren't too happy. And so after implementing digital dentistry into my practice, specifically with the InstaRisa workflow, these are the things that I've noticed immediately is that, and I'm going to show you how all these things are possible with the marriage between TRI and InstaRisa. For sure, it's a predictable workflow, which, as you know, when you're doing full arch, there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of stress. And this is something I think dentists sometimes don't like to talk about. They like to talk about how many arches they're doing a month, but they don't talk about the stresses that go into doing those arches. The stresses in terms of the profitability, patients that are unhappy, countless non-productive appointments, the team that has lost confidence in you. But with InstaRisa and TRI, you're going to find that your hard cost is going to go down. Your lab fees are going to go down. You're going to have less appointments, right? So imagine if we can get to the finish line from start to finish in as little as 4 appointments for full arch. That's unheard of. I mean, typically to do a full arch analog, you're at, 10, 15. I've had, a friend tell me on a podium the other day, he was very honest. He was brutally honest. And I really appreciate it. I love this guy, Dr. Payray. And he showed a case where it took him 31 appointments to get to the finish line. And that's reality. That is really reality that doctors don't like to talk about. And so how do we reduce this to 4 to 5 appointments predictably? I'm going to show you how. Each appointment, you're going to have time that's saved specifically with the TRI system because you're not having to select an abutment, which I come to find out is a lot of time savings. And at the end of the day, what's going to happen is you're going to have a lot of confidence because you're going to be doing a lot of these cases. Your profitability is going to go up, and you're going to have a lab team that's happy, the doctor's going to be happy, and the clinical team is going to be happy. But most importantly, you're going to build a practice that's built on a pleasant and great patient experience. And so, because we all know that it's the patient that pays the bills, it's the patients that really motivate and drive us to do what we're doing. So how do we make this more predictable? Well, all of you guys are here today because I think we all share this, right? If you think education is expensive, try ignorance. And one of the things that I'm really, really happy that I've chosen to do is be a sponge, right? I don't ever feel like I know everything. And when it comes to digital dentistry, I like to claim that I probably have made more mistakes in digital dentistry than any other dentist in this world. At least that's how I feel. But I've learned a lot as a result. I couldn't have done this without the co-founder, my good friend here, Fernando Polanco. He's known as the Wizard. He's our chief technical officer, and he's the one that really took me under his wing and really showed me the benefits of digital dentistry. And so to give you a little bit of background, in my practice, I practice full time. And, my practice is specifically an implant-based practice. We focus on aesthetics and implant dentistry, and we limit our services to that. And so with that, I've invested a lot of time, money, and energy into having an in-house digital lab. And once you do this, it took a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of money. But once you do it, there's really no other way to do dentistry, in my opinion, if you have the time and energy to go through the hurdles. Now the hurdles are relieved by companies like ours that can help you get to the finish line a lot quicker. I can't go on without giving praise and thanks to John Coyce. He is just a phenomenal person. Essentially what I've done is I've taken John Coyce's analog principles and convert them to digital. And John Coyce is very instrumental in my career when it comes to predictable outcomes. And so I have to give him some props. And when he said this at one of the symposium, it really rang true to me. When you know better, but do not do better, you feel worse about yourself. And right around that time is when I was thinking about just giving up on doing full arch dentistry. And this is why. So, people start saying, hey, digital dentistry is the answer. Digital dentistry is the answer. Well, let me tell you, I'll be the first to say that digital dentistry in itself is not the answer. I'll just for example, many people will look at this design, say, hey, that's a pretty nice design. I can get that design for $100, $150. But the truth of the matter is that we don't know what this design is going to look like until we put it in the patient's face. So once you put it in the patient's face, think about this. How much time, money, and effort has gone into it by this point in terms of scheduling the patient, all the time that you spent in the chair, the investment you made for sedation, the equipment, and then you put this in the patient's face, and you have no idea prior to this point what it's going to look like. Why is that? Because lots of times we end up with outcomes like this. And this is a patient that has paid several thousands of dollars to us and has trusted in us to provide a good solution for them. And we deliver something like this. And I don't know about you, but for me, it was very, very painful. And I really questioned how good of a dentist I was when I would deliver something like this, because I knew that what would happen was this patient was going to go home and somebody was going to make a comment about what's wrong with your smile, right? Why is your midline off? Why is it crooked? Why does it look this way? And the post-op appointment was the one I dreaded the most. So how do we avoid this? How can we avoid this predictably? Needless to say, there's probably, when it's canted like this, right, there's probably occlusion issues going on also. So how do I eliminate problems that are going to cost me time, money, and energy to fix this? Because it's not an easy fix. So let's talk about cost. Chris was really good about talking about value proposition. So let's take a look at a practice that is producing $1.5 million, roughly working 188 days. And just for simplicity, I just said that's $8,000 of production a day. So your hourly production is about $1,000. One of the things that people don't talk about is how many try-ins it takes to get to the finish line. And the try-ins are a result of occlusion that's off for full arch or aesthetics that's off and meeting the patient's demands, right? Or their expectations, because they just paid you $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, sometimes more than that. And so let's just say that you're going to do 6 try-ins, and 6 try-ins is pretty typical in an analog world, even in a digital world, if you don't have a true good digital workflow. So if it takes you 6 try-ins to get to the finish line at $1,000 a pop, that's $6,000 of lost chair time that you just lost. So then we have docs that are raving fans, and let's just say it's $5,000 after, because you have to do at least one try-in. So if you're spending extra time and money with try-ins, I don't know about you, but on my day sheet, it says 0 production for that. It does not, I can't charge for a try-in. So if you're doing 5 arches a month and you're taking multiple times to finish that case, you just lost potentially $25,000 of production. Okay, you're doing 10 arches. Well, just do the math, 50,000. Okay, the big ballers are doing 20 arches a month with multiple try-ins. You just lost potentially, you could have produced $100,000 more. So you get the point. So how do we get to the finish line more predictably? That's what this whole presentation is about. I want to get you to the finish line more predictably at a lower cost and be very, very confident at the end of the day that you can do this. So the purpose of articulators is so that the lab technician thoroughly understands where the teeth belong in the face, so that when they're setting the teeth, whether it's on a benchtop or on a computer, they know more or less how these teeth are going to look when you put them into the patient's face. So there's been a long evolution of how to communicate to the lab technicians. All of these methods have been tried. Not all of them work predictably. Okay, the one that worked predictably the most in my hands was the Cois Panadent facial articulator on the upper right. But it does take extra time, and I have to do it as a dentist. And so when I'm looking at digital dentistry, I'm always looking at efficiencies. How can I be more efficient at what I'm doing? And a lot of it has to do with delegating. If I can delegate some of these steps to my team, then I can be more productive doing the things that nobody else in the practice can do, which is like what I like to, I stole this from Dr. Amin. He says that I just make holes and drop titanium in them, right? And so that's what I want to focus on. So nonetheless, the missing link is the face. That's the missing link. If I can give the lab technician the face and on the computer design the perfect smile, we're going to be able to eliminate a lot of these ineffective time-wasting appointments, okay? So I truly believe this, right? And mark my words, it's just a matter of time. What Chris is doing with TRI, it's revolutionary. What we are doing with InstaRisa is revolutionary. I fully believe that every full arch should be started with a 3D facially generated design. If you don't have a 3D facial scanner, then chances are you're going to be spending extra time trying to make it right. So you design the smile with the face, and then you surgically execute this. I like to call this working from the outside in, where most dentists, we work from the inside out. What do I mean by that? We place the implants, we make the teeth, we put the teeth in the patient's mouth, then we step back and we look at the patient to see if it's right. That's working from the inside out. It's actually backwards, right? Most architects, all architects, design first. We design the teeth in the face with the perfect smile. We can even let the patient sign off on it. Then we place the implants. Then we align the design to the implants. So let me show you a case. This is a TRI specific case. This is Alex. And this is the toughest type of case, right? So I didn't cherry pick. This is a double arch all on X case. So this is Alex. Let me introduce you to Alex. So the first thing we do in our practice is we do our consultation records. And in our practice, we take photos and we get a 3D facial scan that takes about 30 seconds. And that really wows the patient, okay? So let me introduce you to Alex. This is Alex. So most of our male patients, as you know, have a lot of facial hair. And we all know why they have facial hair, right? And Alex was very open and honest. He said, I have facial hair, doc, because I'm so embarrassed. I'm so ashamed. I don't even like to talk to people. And I work in a position where I am forced to talk to people, but I'm just not comfortable. And so he grew this long mustache to cover his smile. And so you can see what it looks like with the retractors there, okay? So here's a close-up of his smile, which we had to force him to show that because it wasn't natural. Here's his occlusion. Now, many people will look at that and say, whoa, where do I begin? How do I get this case started? Well, with the InstaRisa workflow, I'm going to take you through each step so that we really break this down and really simplify the process. So when I look at this, I can see that the anterior teeth are flared out. That's mainly due to the fact that he doesn't have posterior occlusion. So he's hitting his front teeth and he's doing everything he can to chew with those front teeth. And as a result, what you're looking at is adaptation that has come at a cost. That adaptation affects your occlusion, it affects the restorations, it affects the teeth, it affects the periodontium, it affects the muscles, it affects the TMD. Everything is affected in this chewing system. So, but he has to eat, he has to chew, so he's going to do what he can. So when I look at this, the first thing that comes to mind is, okay, I got to focus on the bite. We got to make this bite right if I want to make the smile right, right? I can't make a right smile without correcting the bite. So I immediately look at this, and here's his upper occlusal view, lower occlusal view. So what do? Well, with the InstaRisa workflow, this is called phase 0 records. So once the patient accepts treatment, we bring them in for phase 0 records. And this is also known as the smile right, bite right record appointment. Okay, and I stole that from my good bud, Dr. Sid Parker. So he says, Dart, you got to get the bite right. If you get the bite right, you can get the smile right. And I said, I'm going to call it that. It's called the smile right, bite right records. So here we go. How do we get this, these phase 0 records? This is the armamentarium that you need. You need an intraoral scanner. You need a facial scanner. That's the InstaRisa facial scanner. We highly recommend that you use these InstaRisa retractors, which I'm going to show you why. These are custom-made retractors that Fernando has designed to really maximize the use of the facial scanning technology. And of course, you need titanium. You need TRI matrix multi-level implants. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the bite right, okay? So here we are. We actually opened his vertical. And in this case, I believed I just used a Lucia jig. And this is putty. And so we open his vertical just ever so slightly. And we take a putty bite. And we call this the InstaRisa putty bite. Why do we take the InstaRisa putty bite? Because if I try to align this bite with an intraoral scanner, especially if I'm planning on opening the vertical slightly, chances are my bite is going to be off because the intraoral scanner cannot scan the upper arch and the lower arch simultaneously because there's a large space between the teeth. And so what happens is the intraoral scanner is just guessing what this bite should look right. And it may look nice on the screen, but you won't find out that it's off until you deliver the restorations, the double arch, because we're going to do both arches in one appointment for this appointment. And with the InstaRisa workflow, it's an always. We just always do both arches simultaneously. So nonetheless, we get the bite and we scan our patient with our facial scanner. So these are facially generated smile designs, okay? And with the facial scanner, it's a standard protocol. All this is built into the software in our facial scanner. We get 4 facial scans. We get a Duchenne smile, which is an exaggerated smile. I want to see how high the lip goes so that I can make sure that my transition line is not going to be exposed. I can do this very easily and determine where the transition line is going to go because I have digital technology that allows me to see through the patient's lip to determine how much bone reduction I'm going to have to make. So we get a Duchenne smile, we get a natural smile, we get a repose smile, and then we get a bite scan smile. Not a bite scan smile, but a bite smile. A bite facial scan, excuse me. And so then what we do is we align all of these facial scans very, very precisely. And this is the key. This is the difference between the facial scanner that I just showed you and all the other facial scanners on the market, is the level of precision, the level of accuracy that we bring. The level of accuracy that we bring allows us to have a very predictable workflow. Because if you can imagine what I just did with this photo, with these images, is I scanned the patient's face with the facial scanner, I scanned the patient's teeth with the intraoral scanner, and essentially I digitized the patient. I created a dental avatar. Now I have a dental avatar that's very, very precise. The triangulation that's necessary to align this is with the facial scanner that I mentioned, the InstaRisa facial scanner is at 40 microns. There's no other facial scanner that's going to be able to offer that, aside from one other that's outside of dentistry, which is the Arctic Spider, and that's where all of our research and development started. So what do? We designed the smile. So we designed the smile in multiple lip positions. So now that I have a very precise alignment, I can design a smile and I can look at the patient and show the patient this smile. Of course, when we show the patient, the teeth are white, they're not yellow, but we can show the patient what their smile is going to look like when we finish this restoration. And here's the biggest wow factor, is when you scan your patient's face with a facial scanner and you show them what they're going to look like after, you get an amazing response. Some of the responses are, wow, that is amazing. I never knew this was possible. Others may be very nitpicky and say, hey, you know what? I think those teeth are a little too small. I think those teeth are a little whatever, right? But here's the nice thing. We haven't even started treatment yet. So we can show this to our patient, show them what they're going to look like in living color in 3 dimensions. So I can show them the lateral view, the horizontal view. I'm able to show them the curve of spee, where it is relative to their lips, the buccal corridor. Everything you can imagine is visible on these images. And once the patient gives us their seal of approval, then I can say with confidence, I promise you, Alex, your smile is going to look just like this. There's no disclaimer at the bottom of this conversation that says, you know, we may not be able to deliver the results. It's quite the opposite. I promise them it's going to look just like this. So once they approve it, let's go on to surgery. So this is the InstaRisa artificial reference screw and scan body system. So what it is, it's a fiducial marker. So the idea is, how do I get from point A to point B surgically and make sure that I can deliver that smile? So what we do is we first initiate the osteotomy in the upper arch with a lance drill. And you want to drill about 3 to 5 millimeters first, and then you're going to insert the artificial reference screw until you get about 35 Newton centimeters. The artificial reference screw comes in 2 pieces by design, and it comes in 2 lengths. We have an 8 millimeter that goes, actually this is that's correct, it's a typo. The 8 millimeter goes on the upper arch, and the 13 millimeter goes on the lower arch. And it comes in 2 pieces so that you can place it as we did here. And then you can remove the scan body during surgery so it doesn't interfere while you're performing your surgery. So the artificial reference screw goes in. We put the scan body on top. It has an embedded screw into it. So you're going to attach it to the artificial reference screw. You'll notice that it's indexed. It's a 4 millimeter square. So the reason it's indexed is because when you take your second scan with the implants, you need to make sure that this fiducial goes in the same exact position. If you place this fiducial in at least 35 Newton centimeters, there's no need to put extra holes in the patient's palate. 1 is enough. The key is making sure that the torque is significant enough so that during surgery, as you're reflecting, that's not going to move. This is what it looks like once it's screwed in. And then what we do is we have this material that we call Scandar. It's a registration material that we link. You can see there that there's undercuts on the scan body. And the purpose of the Scandar is to facilitate a quick, easy scan with the intraoral scan. Because the idea is that what we're doing is we're placing this fiducial so that once all the teeth come out, we have a landmark that we can reference back to the phase 0 intake records that we designed the virtual smile upon. This is the artificial reference screw on the mandible. So here you're going to use the longer fiducial screw. Again, you want to make sure the torque value is at least 35 Newton centimeters. And then you place the scan body on top. You add the ScanDar to it so that it can help facilitate a nice, easy scan. What we found is if you didn't put the ScanDar on, some artificial intelligence in these intraoral scanning systems would cut the scan body off, or you would have a discrepancy between the stitching between the scan body and the teeth. So we suggest that you always put ScanDar on to help facilitate that scan. Here's an occlusal view of that. So again, we're going to use the intraoral scanner to scan this. If you can imagine, this now is going to align to our intake record that has the smile design virtually placed on top. This is what it looks like on the upper arch. We scan that. We scan it with our intraoral scanner. And then we take the teeth out and we go to work. So when you're taking the teeth out, the scan body is removed so that it's not moved during surgery. Then we place our TRI implants. And I got to tell you, I was really, really impressed with the stability of these implants. One of the things that's unique is it has what they call a multi-level interface. If you look at the implant on the left, it has a 2.8 anodized machine surface area there. And what's nice about this system is that the bone will actually attach to that surface. So unlike the Straumann implant, where you want that to be completely above bone, this is a multi-level, so you can place it slightly subcrestal, but preferably you want to place that implant so that it's within that pink zone of the scan body. The other thing that you'll notice is a nice feature is that it has this concave surface. The concave surface is nice because it's more narrow at the crest in those areas than the actual implant body. So what that allows for is for blood to kind of seep into that concavity, and it really minimizes the stress that's being put on the crestal bone there to help preserve bone. So here is the lower implants that are going in. There's the fiducial without the scan body on. And I was able to get torque values of above 60 Newton centimeters on every implant on the lower arch, with the exception of one because the bone was a little soft. So you'll notice that I placed an extra implant on one side. So I utilized their scan bridge system. And one of the things that was pretty cool about it is that they have this scan body that also doubles as a impression coping. So if you're an analog dentist, you can use it. If you're a digital dentist, you can use it. But what's really slick about this is I use the a cordless torque driver. And so what I soon realized with the help of Holger, who is phenomenal, by the way, he's really the guy that's behind a lot of this engineering, is that we were able to just place these scan bodies, and as they spin, it's going to grab the index part of the implant, and it will not screw in until it's indexed correctly. So that's a really nice feature. So these scan bodies go in, and there's the tie back that you can see with our fiducial. There's the 4 implants on the upper arch. I think these were all 4.1 by 16s, if I'm not mistaken, on the upper arch. Here they are on the lower arch. Again, you'll notice here on the lower left, this is what I was talking about earlier, where you have this concave surface at the interface, and the osteotomy is larger than that concave surface. And so if you sync that, like you see on this other implant, if you countersync that, you now have the ability for osteoblast to get into that area and create bone. So on the right side, you see all the scan bodies that have been placed. This is the scan bridge. One of the things that's unique about the scan bridge is that you're able to scan the soft tissue simultaneously with the implant position. So you'll notice that, again, we use the ScanDar here. The ScanDar is linking the implant position to the fiducial. And this is the key, and this is why the artificial reference screws are flying off the shelf, is because there's not very many systems that are able to align the implant position to the design predictably. And if you look at the artificial reference screw, the way we designed this, it is very large. It's a large scan body that sits on top. And I want to encourage everybody to use the scan body. I know of doctors that have tried the artificial reference screw and are not using the scan body. I can tell you that you're going to get much more predictable results with the scan body on top because of the surface area that it has in the XYZ position, and it's indexed. So there's no way that's not going to go on the incorrect way. But the bottom line is you're able to align this fiducial to the prior pre-surgical scan. So here's another cool little feature that TRI has come up with, and these are their healing abutments. And so you can print these out in your office, and they're very wide, and these are held in with the same screw that you're going to use to place your restoration. So this is immediately after surgery, I believe. So in my practice, I just gave a webinar last week on next day delivery and why I firmly believe that next day delivery is the best way to go when it comes to building an implant-based practice, specifically full arch. Many people will say, well, you know what, next day, are the patient's going to be okay with that? I've never had an issue. It really comes down to just presentation, how you deliver the message that you're going to deliver a custom-made set of teeth the next day that are going to be drop dead gorgeous, they're going to fit perfectly, and their bite's going to be right. And so at that point, they just say, okay, doc, I'll see you tomorrow. So people are also express concern about the swelling that takes place. And I will tell you that there's not much swelling whatsoever. So here is the panoramic x-ray that was taken as a result immediately after, or maybe this is actually the next day because the teeth are in place there. So these were 3D printed teeth. Here's the before CBCT. There's the after. Again, I was able to get great torque value. Every single implant torqued at about 60 Newton centimeters with the exception of one of them. And that's why I placed one more implant versus 4 on the lower arch. And that had a lot to do with just the patient's anatomy, not necessarily the implant. So, but here's the CBCT. This is the typical swelling that you're going to see the next day. You'll see that the healing abutments displace the soft tissue very, very well. You can see in the roof of the mouth where the artificial reference screw was the day before. It's already healing up nicely. Here's the displacement of the soft tissue with the healing abutments. These are the oversized healing abutments that were 3D printed. And the other thing that people mention about delivery next day is, do you have to numb the patient? And I would say that I've numbed my patient less than 2 to 5% of the time. And it really comes down to designing, 100%. And one of the things that InstaRisa provides is an expert panel of designers. And our designers know exactly how much pressure to put on the soft tissue so that there's no need to anesthetize. And you're able to create a nice convex surface so that food does not get trapped underneath. And that's an always. So this was a big game changer for me. When I looked at the size of these bolts, I don't even think we should call them screws, Chris. I like how you said bolt screws, but I'm going to call them bolts. Look at the size difference. This is so amazing to me. I never imagined being able to screw in a full arch with a bolt versus a screw. On the left side, that's your typical multi-unit abutment screw. On the right side, the gold one is the standard TRI bolt that's used. And so you can see already this bolt is significantly longer. And, you know, when we say it's twice as thick, you know, we just say, oh, it's twice as thick. But when I took this photo and I sat them next to each other, that's when it really, really hit home for me. And I go, man, this is genius. This is absolutely genius, because this is one of the reasons that I've always been reluctant to jump on board with skipping the tie base. And the nice thing is you can torque this screw in at like 35 Newton centimeters, right? And the elongation, the stretching of the screw is significantly more than what you would get with your multi-unit abutment, screw, your 1.4 millimeter screw. Check this out. I mean, enough said. I mean, look at that. Look at the difference. This is huge. This is a huge difference. So tell me you're not going to have confidence, skipping the tie base when you have a screw that is this size compared to what we're using, And so I don't know. I'm just super, super impressed by just the size of these screws. This is their 2.8 screw. They have a 2.6 screw that allows for angulation. So you want to make sure that you place the implants accordingly. These are all the 3D, this is a 3D printed restoration. I got to give props to my in-house dental lab technicians. They are phenomenal at the Divine Dental Studio is what we call our in-house lab. They just make me look good. So thank you guys. I appreciate your hard work. It's just amazing. A lot of my patients come back wondering why I thought we were done. Why are we going to make another set? These teeth look amazing, right? So here you go. This is Alex delivering the teeth the next day. He's a little swollen. This is a double arch, but we nailed it, right? We nailed the occlusion. We nailed the aesthetics. This is a nice view to show the size of the access holes. The size of the access holes are they're not large, but keep in mind, there's no tie base here. So the thickness of the restoration, regardless of whether it's a printed restoration, a milled restoration, or zirconia, it is significantly thicker with the TRI system than adding a tie base. Because that tie base, with multi-unit abutments, we need to think about this. Everything is fighting for space. When we put a multi-unit abutment onto an implant, automatically the restoration is thinner, and automatically our screw has to be smaller. So skipping the abutment, going without an abutment, I think is just absolutely genius. And you can place these implants at angles that you'd be surprised can be restored.
Dr. Mirelez, would you mind just quickly touching on, since obviously you're a design company as well, and you see all aspects of design for full arch until now, obviously with no MUAs with TRI, but before TRI, you mentioned to me many times of wrong selection of MUAs and how often you see that. Can you just touch on that for the group?
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, Chris. It's so true. So we provide design services at InstaRisa, and we get to see a lot of these records that come in, and we can plan the perfect smile, but it really is dependent on where the implants go. And then it's also even more dependent on which multi-unit abutment that is selected. And so something to keep in mind is that the next time you're doing an arch, and I did this actually, I timed myself from the time I placed my implants to the time I was done selecting my multi-unit abutments, because I pretty much freehand the majority, about 50-50. I got Yomi now, so I'm doing about 50% with Yomi. I'm doing 50% freehanded. But nonetheless, time yourself of how long it takes you from the time the implants go in to selecting the multi-unit abutments, and they're screwed in and you're done. On average, it was taking me anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes, depending on how many implants I was placing, depending on how much time I was going in terms of selecting the right height, selecting the right angle. So that selection process is time consuming. And what we see docs, unfortunately, selecting the wrong height and selecting the wrong angle lots of times. And as a result, you end up getting access holes through the facial, which is not aesthetically pleasing. So the nice thing is that with the divergence angle of at least 50 degrees for the implant, and then you can angulate the screw 30 degrees, that's a significant amount that you can correct. And so I always like to tell my designers, I want you to make me look good, right? And what I mean by that is when you take this occlusal shot, I want the access hole to be spot on in the middle of the tooth in the posterior and right around the cingulum area on the anterior area. And as you can see here, right, my designers made me look good. But a lot of this has to do with the fact that you can angulate the access hole, and there's no need for selecting the correct multi-unit abutment. So the other thing to keep in mind is that how much are you paying for those multi-unit abutments? And then if you have a full arch practice like I do, I have to keep an inventory of different heights and different angles. And that inventory is expensive, right? But it's even more expensive if I don't have the right MUA. So I am constantly overstocking my multi-unit abutments. So imagine getting rid of that stock, right? So I think that's a huge point. So this is 8 weeks post-op. So you can see here, what we do is we bring our patient in at 2 weeks and typically about 8 to 10 weeks. And every time the patient comes in, we're checking the implants, we're checking the occlusion, we're making sure that everything is just fine-tuned. And so here we go. This is Alex with the finished restoration. Actually, this is not the finished restoration. This is his prototype still, or his healing teeth. This photo, believe it or not, was just taken last week. And so you can see the difference, though. It's significant. One of the things you'll notice immediately is these patients, they shave, right? So the first thing he did was just cut his goat teeth off and shorten his mustache. But this is the key. How can we predictably produce these types of results? And it's only possible with a predictable digital workflow where you can get from the photo on the left to the photo on the right in as little as 2 appointments, literally as little as 2 appointments. And so these teeth are the same teeth that the patient will wear until the implants have healed and the patient is ready to go to final restorations. And with the InstaRisa workflow, it's just one more appointment to take records for final restorations. And then at that point, you can deliver the final restoration at the following visit. That would make it a 4-appointment workflow. Or you can deliver a prototype and then deliver the final zirconia on the 5th appointment. So again, the key is, for me, what's been really interesting is seeing how quickly my surgeries go with the TRI system combined with the InstaRisa workflow. And I'm so accustomed to just placing the implants and letting my team run the rest of the show. And so one of the things that's really exciting, Chris, that I'm really excited to announce is that we will be releasing our components for all of the InstaRisa users out there that are accustomed to using our healing abutments, our scan bodies, our intraoral scanning technique. That should be hitting the market here in the next 2 to 3 months is what Chris is telling me. So we're really excited about that, because at that point, everything would be very, very seamless for all the InstaRisa providers that we currently have. So if you're interested in learning more, you can check us out at instarisa.com. But I'm really excited about this this revolutionary way of doing things with the TRI system that has saved me time. It has saved me money. And we're getting very, very predictable results with the system. So this is something that I always like to say is show me the face, hashtag show me the face. You know, what happens is we live in a world, a social media world, where typically the after photo is just a close-up of the smile. But if you have a 3D facially generated smile design workflow, you should always be proud to show the face at the end, because only that photo is going to show you the true results in terms of the midline, the cant, the smile line, everything else that goes into the system. So with that being said, one of the things that we are really, really proud of is the InstaRisa WhatsApp tribe group. So I want to encourage you guys to pick up your phones right now, scan this scan bar, this scan code, this QR code, and what the InstaRisa tribe is all about is this. None of us are smarter than all of us, and the tribe is about sharing and uplifting, encouraging, showing our failures, showing our successes, and together as a community, just really raising the tide in terms of the level of care that we want to provide our patients. And I promise you that you will learn something on a daily basis by being part of the InstaRisa tribe. And it's all free. So please ask questions, anything from 3D milling to 3D printing to surgery, whether you're doing pterygoids, zygoids, it doesn't matter. Everything, how to manage your practice, how do you compensate on a bonus plan, all that good stuff. So with that being said, I just want to say thank you first and foremost to God. None of this would be possible without him. He's brought some amazing people into my life, two of which that you see here in this photo. I'm just very grateful for this partnership. I'm more grateful for the friendship that we have, Chris. It's been over 10 years, believe it or not, that we met each other. And one thing that I'll tell you guys about Chris is that he'll go to bat for you. He's gone to bat for me multiple times, and he's a man of integrity. And it's something that I truly respect with all the partners that we work with. So with that being said, I'm open for questions. Thank you very much, Chris. I really appreciate the opportunity, my man.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mirelez. It was very inspirational presentation. I think we're all very thankful to see your work and your skills. You're also an amazing friend and colleague. I do know there is some questions here in the Q&A. I looks like I'll read those off to you right now, and maybe some other questions that come in, maybe for some single unit cases and some full arch cases, I think some questions, but this comes from Mike Costa. Art, just picked up my starter kit from TRI today. Looking forward to see what you're doing with them. Thank you, Dr. Costa here for that.
Dr. Costa, he's a good guy. That guy, he's an amazing clinician. So thanks for chiming in, Costa.
This is from Fabrice Gales. Hope I'm saying that correctly. What is the percentage of full arch cases you do with TRI versus Neodent?
At the moment, it's probably about 25%. And the reason is mainly due to just my inventory, what I have mostly in stock right now. And I can't wait for our components to come out because that's really going to just streamline the process even faster. But I do foresee myself utilizing the TR system significantly more.
Thank you, Dr. Mirelez. This is also from the same, from Fabrice. How do you select your TRI full arch cases?
In terms of, honestly, I just pick whatever I have. It's not a specific, I don't say this is going to be a TRI case. Right now, I just have a stock of implants that I need to go through, but I have no reluctancy of picking up a TRI implant versus a Neodent implant whatsoever. One of the things that's nice is that I don't necessarily, I'll tell you, just the other day, I was going to utilize a specific system and we didn't have the correct multi-unit abutments in stock. So that made it an easy choice as to what implant system we were going to use.
Well, Dr. Mirelez, we can certainly get a Santa bag and take those purple implants out for you and make it very easy transition for you. And certainly when those healing abutments come in from InstaRisa, we know where the jury will be at for sure. So, are you using TRI for singles or 2 to 3 implant cases?
Not yet. I was just telling Chris that I need to start. I don't have any issues doing it. I just haven't done it. So.
Okay, this is from Dr. Dino Mantis. Love Alex, a very emotional reveal. Another question.
Dr. Dino Mantis was there for the reveal, and it's very emotional for the entire team and the family. That's one more reason why we deliver the next day, because the patient's not swollen, they're not numb, they're not bleeding, they're not exhausted. It's a special day.
This is also from Fabrice. Great questions here. It says, any pterygoid TRI implants coming up? The answer is yes. We will be having a product line extension that comes out for probably a soft launch toward the end of Q4 2024 into 2025. They'll be readily available. This also is how to improve the implant system, the emergence profile, talking about crowns. This is from Jorge Modica.
What was the question, Chris? I'm sorry.
Says how to improve this implant system, the emergence profile, talking about crowns.
How does it improve the emergence? Well, one of the things
Yeah.
that's nice is that you have the ability to print out a custom healing abutment. And when we say custom, it could be shaped like a tooth, or it can be shaped as a healing abutment. So that emergence profile is immediately created on the day of surgery. The other thing is that as a result of the width of that platform, you're not coming in from a narrow platform switch diameter, you're coming out wide from that concave surface. So you have a better emergence profile compared to some of the implants that have a platform switch.
Okay, we have another one here from Hamid Kazimi. Thank you. Skeleton-supported surgical guides are essential. In my experience for precision placement, as most do not have navigation systems, and free-handed placement and is highly risky. Is that part of your process in any of your full arch cases?
Yes, as I mentioned, I've invested in Yomi, and Yomi has allowed me to precisely place the implants, which is nice because we plan the implants based off of the design that was 3D facially generated. So now when I'm freehanding my implants, I'm not just freehanding it. I also print out a template, and we call it a free-handed template that is based off of the final design. And then it helps me determine the placement of my implant. So that's very, very helpful. But again, that free-handed template is based off of the final design restoration.
Any questions here for Dr. Mirelez while I have him on the horn? Any other to come in? Don't be shy. Well, thank you much for the audience here for attending the amazing TRI abutmentless dental implant system coupled with Dr. Mirelez's InstaRisa workflow. We hope you found it very educational. We thank you certainly for your time. And I believe you have my contact information for continued follow-up, and certainly Dr. Mirelez's information as well. And we thank you very much for attending tonight's webinar.
All
Have a
right.
great night.
Thank you.